Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from us.
Indeed.
Vince and I were talking before the show, and we were having this very intense conversation. Well, not intense, we weren't arguing or anything, but we were...
It was like a tennis match.
But we were having this very fun conversation about the company movies coming out this summer, and I thought that it would be appropriate to kind of take some of the stuff that we were talking about and mold it into a video. And what we came up with, the question we're going to be trying to answer today is, why can't movie remakes be more creative?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to talk about today, and before we start the timer, without even telling you exactly what we're doing, we'll just start the timer and then we'll get rolling. You ready? All right, 10 minutes on the clock. Let's see if we can actually keep it in 10 minutes this time. All right, Vince, start us off.
I think the main thing that kind of got us into it was the idea of, Star Trek and Superman, and of course those aren't coming out this summer, but things that they were doing with Zod and Khan, and how, or why can't they be more creative? Why can't they choose somebody that maybe hasn't been in a movie already?
Mm-hmm. And especially hasn't been the giant villains that everybody remembers, because nobody's giving Nolan crap for doing this with Bane, because, well, that wasn't Bane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody's giving him crap for having Catwoman because, and as much as some people really like the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, that's still certainly a character that's worth exploring in more in other ways.
I'll admit I've never seen Michelle Pfeiffer in something and said, "Wow, I'm glad she's in that."
Really?
Yeah, she bugs me. I don't know what it is. She just looks freaky.
All right.
But that's neither here nor there. I personally, I'll say this, that I'll just give my little 2 cents on Catwoman. I don't care that she doesn't look much like traditional comic book Catwoman.
Neither do I, yeah.
But I do think that has some kind of reason for why it's being marketed more as a Nolan movie rather than a Batman movie, because the characters who are not Batman are not quite as recognizable just by looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
So Bane doesn't quite look like Bane, not that anybody knows who Bane is outside of the mainstream comic book readers. And Catwoman doesn't look much like Catwoman, so showing her would be trying to sell the movie on Anne Hathaway, which she's a terrific actress.
Sure.
But
it's going to work to a point, but not like Ledger.
Like, people are looking like, oh, so because these people are not the Joker, nobody's going to come see this movie unless we market it in a way that they've seen before. So we've marketed Nolan movies, Memento, Inception, yada yada, as this sort of movie, so people will come see it because it's a Nolan movie. Which, in my head, to some extent, that's forgivable. Because, you already have a major superhero movie that came out this summer. Maybe you need something that makes you a little bit different. But I feel like the motives are wrong.
I think so too. And this all came out of something I said, which was simply, I keep forgetting this is a Batman movie.
Yeah.
I keep seeing the advertising for this and going, oh, it looks like Inception all over again, And that's not to say that I'm not looking forward to seeing Dark Knight Rises. I think I'm going to get in there and it's going to be a great movie, but it's not being advertised like Avengers and like Spider-Man, where you go, ooh, an Avengers movie, ooh, a Spider-Man film. I keep, like Batman's not even hardly in the trailers that much. I keep forgetting that we're looking at a Batman movie. But as far as things being more creative, I think that the reason that what Vince is talking about right now ties into what we're talking about is that I'm not saying that Dark Knight Rises is not going to be a creative film.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that everything is about the marketability of it all. It's all about recognizability. Yeah. And so what Vince is saying is, because people don't immediately recognize those characters, they have to come up with something to make it feel recognizable instead of just selling it as what it is. And that the furthest extreme of that is what we're seeing in things like Man of Steel, where they're using Zod again. And I'm not saying that's going to be bad. I'm just saying that, like, give another villain a chance, and don't simply make a film that you think everybody will go see because they've heard of Zod. And it is very much now looking like Khan is going to be in the Star Trek sequel. I think that's confirmed now and not a rumor. And if we find out later on that they really aren't doing Khan, then that's going to be fine with me, and I don't mind being wrong on this video. But
please make us wrong.
But I'm pretty sure at this point that is kind of confirmed. We've seen those things. They've been done really well. I don't need them again. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be making more Superman movies. I'm not saying we shouldn't be making more Star Trek movies. But I would like to give audiences enough credit to think, and I mean, you can't give American audiences too much credit. Let's be fair, because well, Hollywood has trained us to be stupid, and so sometimes we are, right? Sometimes it happens. All I'm saying is, boy, I'm digging myself in a hole right now.
That's the thing is that Nolan made a movie, and now they're trying to market it.
Yeah.
And I feel like what they're doing with Star Trek and Man of Steel is they're trying to make a marketable movie, which is a completely different thing.
By the way, you know what I would have done with Dark Knight? I wouldn't have...
You wouldn't have made him rise? He's not Doe.
I wouldn't have shown anything about the movie at all whatsoever. I would have had teaser trailers with a bat symbol and nothing else. That's what I would have done. You know why? Because Dark Knight was a freaking gigantic movie, and all you had to do was say no one's in it, the whole cast is coming back, these two are your villains, or well, Catwoman's probably not really a villain in that movie, but I'm just saying
supporting cast.
These are your major comic book supporting cast characters. That's all you need to know. You know what I mean? And that's how I would have sold that movie. Again, I'm having a tougher time being as excited about it as I'd like to be because I don't feel like it's being marketed as a Batman film.
You know, that's the thing is I keep forgetting Batman's coming out this summer. I really keep forgetting it. I'm like, oh yeah. I keep thinking Avengers, Spider-Man, and then a Nolan movie's coming out this summer. I didn't even think about it until Cap brought it up, but every time somebody brings up Batman, I go, oh yeah.
So anyway, I think that because we're talking about Nolan right now, we're getting really far off the actual topic.
Yeah, indeed.
So anyway, let's go ahead and get into that. I think part of the problem is just that it's very simple. Use some other characters, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with Star Trek, with bringing Khan back, I got two giant things. The first one is we've already had Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Let's put Khan, if we have to use Khan, let's at least wait until he's not in the second movie in a franchise. That bugs me. That by itself bugs me.
They will call it Star Trek II, Khan's Wrath, just to make it different.
Ooh, that's turning it on its head. Boy, you know, that's a lot like taking a movie, calling it The Karate Kid, but actually making it a kung fu movie. Anyway, but okay, you got Star Trek, really expansive universe. Conceptually, pretty easy thing to make up new things, especially when you just rebooted the entire franchise. You don't have to mine the continuity for stuff, and you certainly don't have to just use things people have seen before. Star Trek was a really, really successful movie. By virtue of making another one, people will see it. By virtue of it being Chris Pine again and Zachary Quinto in that cast, people will see it again. That finally gave them an out to do a really creative film and really do Star Trek right? And I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to be bad. I'm just saying that I feel like it's too easy. They're being safe with it, and they didn't have to. There were places with the first one that they had to be safe in order to get people to go see it. You know, that was a huge kind of risky sort of movie, right? And you know, they did the things they needed to do to get people to go see it. Now they can be more adventurous, and they're doing Khan that's not very adventurous. Yeah. And I feel the same way about Zod.
No, that's the thing is that I feel like we're there's two ways to do this. You can create something new. God forbid. You can create something new.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's freaking Star Trek. We can, I don't know, make something up.
Yeah, and I would say that for just about any franchise, you can just make something different. You don't have to start right at the beginning and use stuff that you've already used.
It's harder with superheroes because we want to see villains we've never seen before on screen.
See,
but don't you feel like with Star Trek, they're trying too much to make it a superhero movie? Where it's like, we got to have a villain, and it's got to be somebody people have heard of before. Star Trek fans aren't sitting around going, we sure hope that our favorite villains get used. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like now I think that we do that with Superman, or at least I do. I'm like, I want Brainiac on the big screen, you know?
I'd like to see Metallo.
Yeah, I'd like to see Metallo, sure. I mean, but there are characters like that you're like, I like it, you know. And a lot of people, even with Batman, still have their favorite villains that we've never seen before, you know, on the big screen. There aren't many left, but there's still a few, you know. So
my beef with Superman isn't just that they're using a villain from a previous movie. It's that we have a very shallow pool to mine from of villains in Superman movies. Superman
doesn't have the greatest rogues gallery to begin with, so use the ones that are good, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is
we've had Lex, we've had Zod, and we've had Lex.
Yeah.
And we've had
Richard
Lex. Pryor. We've had Richard Pryor. Yeah.
Which I suppose they were trying something different in that one.
And we've had the Solar Guy. And that's what we've had.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Solar Guy. But you can do like if you're gonna mine from the
continuity. I think you could even get away
with
potentially doing like a Toyman movie or something. I mean, like he's got some interesting villains that could be retooled and changed a lot, and nobody would mind that much. You know what I'm saying?
See, that's the thing, is that I think you have just a great wealth of information that you can just mine from and say, hey, this is Superman's continuity. We've only just, chipped the top off of that iceberg. Why are we keeping doing the same thing? Why? I don't think I just used proper English. Why are we doing the same thing? And that really bothers me.
Well, and the answer is simple, and I don't buy it. That's the biggest thing for me. Is the answer to that is we need something recognizable so that we can be absolutely certain it will sell, because we're too afraid to make risks with these high-dollar kinds of movies, these high-budget sorts of movies. Mm-hmm. Look, I get it. I know movies are expensive to make, but especially when you're talking about sequels to movies that already performed, that's the time to get adventurous. Mm-hmm. That's the time to really try some stuff, and I feel like Marvel's got it right on that.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel's really trying things. I mean, how awful would that have been to have such a 4-movie lead up to a movie that would fail? That would be awful.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
But as it turns out, it did not.
And they're trying some somewhat obscure villains, and not everybody is a giant person we've heard before. They're actually mining Iron Man's Rose Gallery a little bit. A lot of people don't even know Iron Man has a Rose Gallery. Stuff like that. Whoever thought we'd see Whiplash? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I cared that much to see that. I'm just saying that they're trying stuff. They're not necessarily going, well, we must do Mandarin. You know what I mean? That's going to sell tickets. And,
which personally, unless you make him interesting, I don't care if I see Mandarin on screen.
I'm just saying that's the Iron Man villain that I had heard of before.
Yeah, me neither. I'm right there with you. That and the Crimson Dynamo. But
Crimson Dynamo, I would like to see, actually.
Yeah, I would like to see Crimson Dynamo. That'd be pretty cool. But now that the Avengers exist and there is some kind of connection with Russia, we can have the Crimson Dynamo.
It could happen, yeah. Well, hey, we're out of time. Let's go do final thoughts. I don't feel like we even kind of explored this topic to the point that we could. Just remember that Geeks Not Nerds is about starting conversations, so we've kind of given, our... and also talked about Dark Knight.
For those of you who are not satiated on that yet, there you go.
There you go. There was us talking a little bit about Dark Knight. I don't know why we even did that, but whatever. That's what happens when we start a video after we were having a conversation.
It was the flip side of the coin. That's what it was.
Okay, I got you. Cool.
But I suppose my final thoughts on this thing is that I think that Star Trek II and Man of Steel could be good movies. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to be creative. They're saying, hey guys, we don't think that we want to take a chance. So I don't think you're going to go see this movie unless it's somebody you've heard of. Which I think Zod is a strange choice for that, because only the people who are connected to Donner's films, or really only the people who are connected to Donner's films, are going to be so jazzed about that, or really care about Zod, at least in my opinion.
I can see why you'd say that. I honestly don't think you're quite on about that. I think that Zod has maybe permeated the culture a little bit more than you realize. I think that the whole Kneel Before Zod thing and all of that is just something that people remember. And he's a villain that, okay, here's the thing. Like I said earlier, Superman doesn't have a giant rogues gallery. And if you don't want to use Lex and you want to use somebody people have heard of, who else are you going to use? You know what I'm saying?
When I'm saying that it's only the people connected to Donner's film, I'm saying that generally when they make a big budget movie, they're trying to market it to that middle school, early high school crowd. They're trying to get kids' butts in those seats. And those people are not really going to be connected to Donner that much.
Here's the thing. You always say that, but I always kind of wonder how right you are about that. And the reason I say that is because, well, first of all, okay, I'm going to try really hard not to make this a really long video. The first thing is, somebody has to take those kids to the theater, and that's that generation before them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the parents are going to go, oh, I've heard of Zod, and then they take their kids who are already going to want to see it just because it's a guy flying around in tights, right? But the other thing is, if that's true, that movies are primarily for that crowd, then why are so many of them remakes that are trying to capitalize on names of things that are 35 years old?
I feel that's mainly because they're trying to appeal to each crowd. Like, well, now we need something that appeals to the older crowd. Now we need something that appeals to the middle age, to the kids, to the women, to the men.
I think it's simply name recognition. Yeah. And that we still kind of assume that parents bringing up their kids, those kids have still at least heard of things like The Karate Kid. Oh, that's a movie I've heard of. That sort of thing. Where they just go simply because they think they're supposed to, because they've heard of it and it's American, and you know what I mean? Like, I think there's some of that happens. So I'm not saying you're totally wrong. I do think that that crowd is somewhat of their bread and butter, but I think just getting them there in the first place.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I just think it's kind of a strange thing. Like, you couldn't have tried something different. Nobody's heard of Maniac or Brainiac.
I've not heard of that.
Maniac or Bertallo.
Those are new Superman villains to me. I think that Zod is also an easy origin thing. I think that story-wise, that's also part of why you use Zod, where it's like, well, we want a villain that I know what they're doing, you know, where it's like, okay, they're trying to do the Superman Batman Begins, and in Batman Begins, you had the kind of, father figure thing going on with Ra's al Ghul and all that kind of thing, where you try to have like the two sides of the coin with the villain and the hero. Clearly, that's what they would be trying to do with Zod, right? Where it's like, okay, we need a guy that ties into his origin, but it's too easy. You know, we've been there, we've done that.
Maybe we just have to pay our dues and wait until they make a more creative Superman movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it might be
not necessarily
creative within the confines of what they're doing. It might be a great movie, and understand that if it comes out, that and it ends up being absolutely amazing, I'm not going to go back and say anything against what I'm saying in this video. Yeah. I think that it's safe. I hope it's great, but I think it's too safe. Because what happens when you get the third generation of remakes? You know, we're going to do this again? That's the thing, is that at what point do we draw the line and say, let's do the thing that hasn't been done before?
When do you take the training wheels off your bike?
Exactly. Yeah. No, but that's the right way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, we'd love to see your comments. What do you think about this topic? Leave your comments in the comments below, and comments in the box below, and also
your comments.
Please leave your condiments. I prefer relish on my hot dogs.
I like mustard.
Yeah. Anyway, if you have a topic for something you'd like us to talk about in the future, leave that in the comments as well. Thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
See you next time.